sure if I was ready to even talk about that part, because it's not something that I publicly talk about, because I still have some shame associated with that. But I think I think actually I can be a success story, because I did pivot, and I landed, and I actually have done really well.
You've just heard Dr. Stephanie Afful from Lindenwood University speaking with my podcast partner, Eric Landrum, at STP's 2022 Annual Conference on Teaching in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Folks, this is an amazing conversation. You're going to love it, and they talk about some really important things. So please enjoy. Macmillan Psychology's Achieve for Psychology is here to help you build academic integrity in the classroom, because it's not just about cheating, it's about increasing positive behaviors. Achieve helps you build academic integrity in the classroom through goal setting and reflection surveys. These frequent low-stakes assignments prepare students for exams and thus reduce course stresses that can lead to cheating. Achieve's goal setting and reflection surveys also help students set personal goals and provide instructors meaningful ways to check in with students and their goals. Again, helping students feel more comfortable in class and with study materials helps instructors keep academic dishonesty out of the classroom. Preview how Achieve helps build academic integrity in the classroom at macmillanlearning.com/psych sessions. The Psych Sessions podcast is sponsored by STP. That is the Society for the Teaching of Psychology. That's APA Division 2. You can find them at teachpsych.org. The views or product endorsements expressed do not represent the views, support, or endorsements of STP. Psych Sessions is so grateful to have STP as a long-term supporter. You can make an impact with PsychLearn. PsychLearn from the American Psychological Association is a complete, all-digital instructional resource for psychology courses. PsychLearn's coverage of research methods and statistics drives deeper engagement than traditional printed textbooks, immersing students in multidimensional learning experiences with engaging content for practice and formative assessment. Structured around applied cognitive science, PsychLearn helps students gain confidence in their understanding of foundational concepts and build toward critical learning outcomes. Learn more about PsychLearn's course material for research methods and statistics for the behavioral sciences when you visit pl.apa.org/sessions. That's PL for PsychLearn, pl.apa.org/sessions.
Welcome to another edition of Psych Sessions. I am so pleased to be here. I am with Dr. Stephanie Afful from Lindenwood University in Missouri. I'm blanking on the town.
It's St. Louis.
Oh, that's just a little. That is a
gateway to the Midwest.
That is a little suburb outside of, I don't know, Cape Girardeau. No, it's a little tiny little south. It's an up and coming town in Missouri. Thank you for reminding me so gently. Stephanie, thanks for being with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I want to throw in a shout out to the Society for Teaching of Psychology and the Annual Conference on Teaching, and Lindsay Maslin for giving us the space today. I'm very appreciative of that, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because I know you, and actually we can talk about your role in ACT here in a minute. How's your conference going so far?
It's great. It's a reunion. We haven't been together in the same space since Denver 2019, and lots has changed since 2019.
For ACT, or just mean teaching in general?
I think in our personal lives and professional lives. So it's just been great to reconnect with everybody.
Since we're there, do you feel like sharing any of those things, or move along? There's nothing to see here. I mean, what would you?
Oh no, I think that some of us have experienced sort of disenchantment with teaching because of pandemic teaching and high flex and all the other adjectives that we didn't know existed prior. And I think this semester, at least for me personally, it's been a comeback moment because the campus feels back to normal. We are back in the classroom. The attendance and engagement has been great. And maybe it's just the juxtaposition of what it was for the past 2 years, but it's another healthy semester, it feels.
So Lindenwood, private liberal arts?
Yep.
And is it religious affiliated?
It was when it was formed, but it is no longer.
Gotcha. What's the size of the undergraduate population?
Yeah, it's mid-size, so it's about 7,500.
Okay, that's healthy.
It is. And I always tell people it's a great blend because the campus feels quite large as far as the amenities and the sports, but the classroom and academic climate feels very small. So I teach 20 to 30 students per class. I teach a 4-4, so it's a heavy load. And it really gives students, I think, the best of both worlds, socially and academically.
And do you have a research expectation in your job?
We don't have a formal research expectation. We are evaluated on our scholarship, but scholarship can come in various forms. And so there are not strict rules about number of publications or where those things have to be published, but finding other avenues to practice your scholarship.
So I will admit to you that I did peek online to look at your faculty profile. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that all of your classes that you teach are listed there for not only the fall that we're in, but the coming spring semester. Mm-hmm. So it was really great for me to see what you're teaching. And so you asked me before we hit record who I'd talked to earlier today, and one is Sue France. Mm-hmm. And in part of that conversation, I mentioned that when I teach intro psych, the only chapter that I've never taught in my entire life is the motivation and emotion chapter.
Oh, that's funny.
And Steph, what is one of the courses that you're teaching this semester?
I teach 2 sections of motivation and emotion.
So trust me, it's no disrespect to you. There's great content, as you know.
Sure.
You might understand better than anybody. Is that your specialty area, or is that just a course that you teach amongst the roster of courses you teach?
Yeah, it is not my specialty area. It is a course that when I took the position was one that needed to be taught. But I think the cool thing about motivation is that we can talk about biological motivators, we can talk about cognitive motivators, and we can talk about social motivators. And I am a social psychologist by training. And so it's just another way for me to sneak social psychology in.
And there it is.
And
You're a social psychologist.
Yeah.
And here we are. And I believe, do you get to teach social psych next semester?
Every semester.
Oh, every semester.
Oh, they can't take it away from me.
Oh, so you're one of those faculty members where you think you own the course?
Not that I own the course, but right now I am the only faculty member who has, the training in it. But it would be hard to share.
What do you have sabbaticals?
We do not. We are a non-tenured institution.
Oh, let me come back to that. Okay. Let's put a pin in that and come back. I typically have in my shop, I have a problem when some of my faculty adopt the idea that I own the course. Mm-hmm. That's kind of an abrupt way to say it out loud, but I don't believe philosophically that anybody owns the course. In fact, excuse me. I think actually there ought to be at least 2 faculty members on our staff that should be able to teach every single course, because someone might go on leave, one might depart, someone might get tired of teaching the course. Sounds like that doesn't happen to you with social psych. Someone might go on sabbatical, but it sounds like you're just genuinely passionate about it.
Yeah, and it's always good to have another person who's going to teach it in a different way. So it's not that I'm saying that I know the best way to teach it. It just conveniently happens to be that that's my specialty, and there's no one else on staff that.
Why is it good to have someone teach it a different way? I'm not so sure of that.
I think diversity of perspective is always good. I think that when you are continuing to do the same thing over and over, sometimes you need a refresh. Sometimes it's helpful for someone to come in and use a different textbook, maybe switch the way in which assessments are done. I just think that students and faculty benefit from that.
Yeah, but you can do that within your own social psych course. In fact,
Yeah.
I'll bet you don't teach it now the way you first taught it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so
But
you can do
it's
a
a
refresh.
forced, sometimes it's a forced, if someone else were to come in and observe you or give you that feedback, right, it might accelerate that process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you been teaching social psych?
Well, since I graduated, which I think was 2007,
Okay, so you're coming
taught
up on 15 years.
mostly every semester, yeah, give or take.
And you're that passionate about it.
Yeah, it never gets old.
So I don't want to sideswipe you. And remember, I told you that anything can be edited out of this recording
Sure,
before it
sure.
goes public. So when will your social psychology textbook be coming out?
Oh, no, Sue Franz just told me that she is writing a social psychology textbook. How great is it that we know we have friends that are writing textbooks?
We do. And we actually have multiple friends
Yes.
with social psych textbooks.
Yes.
And there's always room for good books on the market.
Yeah.
And there's more than one. And and textbook authors compete with their friends, and they're all friends in the same club. So I'll ask my question again. When is
Yeah.
your social psychology textbook coming out?
That sounds like something I should think about and maybe make some lofty goals for the future. But there is no release date right now.
Okay, very good. And if you're not interested in that, I'm not trying to corner you into
No,
that. It's just when I hear that passion in someone, and if you can sustain passion for that topic over 15 years, and you haven't, it's either stayed the same or gone up, and it has not deteriorated. And it's like, okay, all right. And it's very common. If it's not a textbook, it's a project of some sort, or you're working on something. And if not, that's okay too. It's just
Well, I take it as a compliment that you think I'm capable of doing.
Steph, I absolutely, positively think you're capable of doing it.
Thank you.
And if you need me to be your agent, I take a 0%
Oh,
commission.
that's not the number I thought you were going to say.
I know. See what I did there?
Yeah.
A 0% commission. Let me come back to that pin. So your shop is not it's a non-tenure shop. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I came from a tenured institution into a non-tenured institution, and that was a difficult transition. I didn't get tenure.
Psych Sessions is proudly sponsored by W.W. Norton Psychology. Did you know that W.W. Norton is working really hard to promote educational equity? For example, they hire dedicated DEI-specific reviewers. They consult experts in transparent design to ensure their assignments are experienced equitably by all learners. And they design their products based on internationally accepted accessibility standards. And W.W. Norton is now offering Psych Sessions listeners a peer-to-peer teaching ebook called The Norton Guide to Equity-Minded Teaching, offering concrete steps to help instructors ensure that all students can succeed. If you would like a free copy of this ebook, you can request it by going to siegel.wwnorton.com/psych sessions. That's Siegel, like the bird. SEAGULL.wwnorton.com/psych sessions.
I didn't get tenure, and so I was on the market because I had to be on the market. And I think in graduate school we are trained to believe that the only successful way to be, in our discipline is at a tenured institution. And I think that maybe it's my own dissonance, maybe it's because I was forced to reframe. I now think about it in a very different way. So I actually have more flexibility in a non-tenured institution. My peers are not voting on my productivity, and that means that there's more collaboration. There's more open sharing of resources, which actually is the whole mission of SDP, right? But it doesn't always feel that way when you're in a competitive tenured track. And so we teach a high load. We have a 4-4 load, which is considerable. But we are really allowed a lot of autonomy. It's private. We can choose our schedules. We can choose, certainly the materials and the way in which we teach. And that autonomy, if I could go back to motivation and emotion, right? It's autonomy, as we know from Deci and Ryan self-determination theory, that makes us
SDT
intrinsically motivated, right? And so, that's why teaching is the best gig. So I've had to reframe. And actually, I wasn't even sure if I was ready to even talk about that part because it's not something that I publicly talk about because I still have some shame associated with that. But I think actually I can be a success story because I did pivot and I landed and I actually have done really well. And it didn't happen immediately and it wasn't something that was pretty at the time.
Right.
But I think that when we allow the place to define us, we're not going to win. But when the work defines us, when the passion and the joy and the fact that I still get to be in the classroom and I still get to teach social psychology and the topics that I love, I don't need tenure. And I am secure. We have annual contracts, but I do have job security. That would probably not be the case if I was in a smaller program, but psychology is a wonderful space to be in.
So I appreciate your courage in talking about that. And I want to talk about it a little bit if you're okay with that.
Sure.
I've been in higher ed for 34 years. I've been a chair. I'm in my third iteration of serving as department chair. And I'm pretty confident in saying the following. Knowing you, the bit that I do, you making an honest effort at your former institution and applying for promotion and tenure and being denied is a failure of their leadership and their mentoring. As a department chair and a senior faculty member in my home department, every person who goes up for promotion and tenure should be a slam dunk. If my senior colleagues are doing our jobs, we should be mentoring every year along the way. Those annual evaluations should be pointing towards success. Those progress towards tenure reports, every year, if there should be a minor correction in teaching, research, or service, we should be making it annually, not waiting for a 5-year or 6-year mark to say up or down. It should be a slam dunk so that you got to that choice point and they voted you down. With all due respect to your former institution, that's not your failure. That's their failure as mentors and senior faculty.
I believe that to be true now. But in that space,
oh man, I'll bet
I couldn't hear that.
Of course. Who could?
But that is exactly
Good.
true.
I'm glad you understand that.
I know my worth, I know my value, and I know my skill set, right? And everything happens for a reason. And I'm so much happier at my current institution than I would have been if I stayed there, if I was in fact tenured and given that stamp of approval. It took some deconditioning, implicit too, because I had wonderful graduate faculty, but we were trained and raised to believe that there was even teaching was very supported. Teaching lines were very supported, but tenure track was the ultimate goal.
Right. I mean, and a lot of graduate faculty members want clones of themselves. They want the mini-me's. They want their progeny to go on and do research in their line of whatever their research was.
Yeah.
And, graduate faculty oftentimes minimize teaching because it's distraction from their grant writing or their generation of book chapters or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had conversations with new faculty, junior faculty around the country, and at Boise State we have this, I think it's a little bit odd, our annual evaluation is based on points. We have these tables, and you tell us what you've done in the past year, and certain things are worth points, and the points are reflective of our departmental values. So things that we value more get more points. And it's a bit tedious, and it can be gamified a bit, but when I was having this conversation, I tried to tell this person, specificity of the system benefits the person who has less power. If we make the system vague about how do you get promoted, how do you get tenured, how do you get exceeds expectations, when those criteria are vague, it's always to the benefit of the party that's in more power, the chair, or but when we spell out exactly how the steps are, if I'm the chair, I can't manipulate that. You got 42 points and you had to get 30 to exceed expectations. Congratulations, you did it. If I don't like you, you still got 42 points. That means you exceeded. And I don't think we do a good job in higher ed sometimes in being specific about what we expect.
Right.
And providing the structure and the feedback in a timely manner for success.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, of course. Of course. Plus, and I also think it's really beneficial to have our listeners realize that in the moment, of course, you would have been in crisis mode, what comes next mode. You probably got an annual contract. You got a 1 year to figure out something else. And it's the, oh my God moment. But now reflecting on it, they did you a favor.
They really did. And I believe that opportunities present themselves in the exact right moment and space. And it may not be until, retrospectively we can understand the purpose of that, but it was absolutely a growth opportunity. I just didn't see it at the time. So.
And let me just offer, and I promise we're gonna shift gears in a minute. Also, that you had the talent to take advantage of it, and so thank you for not using the L word, luck. I really appreciate that because it's one of my pet peeves. But that you had the talent that you could persevere, and that you could, when those opportunities came about, you had the talent to persevere and succeed in them. So that's awesome.
Thank you. So
tell me about STP, the Society for Teaching of Psychology. How did you get involved with STP?
So this will bring you back. I took teaching of psychology in graduate school with Jim Korn, who was a former STP president.
Oh, I love Jim Korn.
Yeah. And guess whose graduation regalia I wear?
Oh my God!
He gifted me. I know it's
you're going to make
emotional.
me start crying.
It's emotional. So he's retired now, and he has given me his teaching library and his graduation regalia, which was his parents bought him as a graduation gift from graduate school.
Okay, you gotta stop. So
I'll send you a picture, Eric. Because,
please do.
I don't know of anything more prideful. Graduation is such a beautiful ceremony, but to wear that cloak, right? It's such a it is literally pomp and circumstance, but it is so special. And I'm so grateful for, again, timing and mentorship. Jim Korn was not my dissertation advisor, but he taught the Teaching of Psych graduate course, and that's what initially got me plugged into the resources from STP. Of course, he was very good at advertising them. And then we as graduate students started coming. And
St. Louis U?
Yep. We went to St. Louis University, and we had a pretty strong cohort of graduate students that were interested in teaching and social work, in research as well. But I don't think that we struggled in the same way with that identity crisis of, am I a researcher? Am I a teacher? Can I be both? I think we knew pretty early on you could do both.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, first off, go back and do a psych info search on Jim Korn, Korn.
Yes.
And I would put Jim Korn in the same category as Charles Brewer, Bill McKeechee, Jane Hallinan. I would put him in that group of people. I knew Jim. I talked to him every now and again when I saw him at a conference.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember appreciating about Jim is that he could talk about the spirituality of teaching. He very often reflected on the religiosity of teaching. By the way, so did Bill McKeechee. Bill McKeechee did that often in some of his talks as well. And Jim was very purposeful about that and very persuasive about it. I really appreciated that about him.
Yeah, that's a beautiful tribute.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So just for our listeners, Steph made me cry. All right. Which I have cried on this
That was my
podcast
goal.
before.
That was my goal.
Well played. Well played. You know, I got to tell you, the older I get, the more I cry.
I can also cry very easily, so don't you worry.
Yeah. Go back and, if you want to, listen to the Loretta McGregor episode we recorded in SWPA a couple years ago before the pandemic. Oh, I bawled.
Our incoming president-elect.
President-elect. Because
Yes.
she and I go back 20 years, and oh my gosh, there's a thing I described there that I think I cried for 10 minutes.
Oh.
Garth had to kick in, and while I step away, I actually start crying more when I start thinking about it. I got to stop. I got to think about it.
I will go back and listen.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, Jim Korn. Oh my gosh. There's another faculty member. Is Janet Kubley still?
Yeah. Janet
still in
Kubley is still there and organizing the undergraduate program, teaching developmental psych.
Yeah. I got to know her a little bit. She was involved with, I think, the Puget Sound Conference, and so I got to know her a little bit.
And she took over the teaching of psych class after Jim retired.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah. So it was by luck. I use that word, but by timing, it was a very safe space to be trained, and I'm still very close with my graduate mentor, and
who's that?
Richard Harvey, who is a social psychologist and an industrial organizational psychologist, and I think that people walk in your life for a reason, and I do think that I probably could have been successful with other people, but man, I'm so blessed that that I fell into his lab. So I think I fall forward. I tend to say yes to things, and I fall forward, and I usually land well, but that word fall is intentional.
Tell us how you fell into the STP leadership world.
Yeah, so I was an early career faculty, and Regan Garung was president, and he started a early career committee, and Diane Finley was the VP of membership, and so she, along with Regan, put together a call, and again, I'm not sure why, but I fell forward and I applied, and I was selected for the first go-around and met some fabulous people who I'm still very close with, some who I was able to catch up with at this conference. And so that was a time to really kind of define what we think our roles are as newly minted faculty, and still feeling very intimidated, and I can't believe they actually gave me a PhD, but I'm going to run with it, and how do I prep all these classes and also feel like a scholar, and so that was just a wonderful networking opportunity, but it really did press the accelerator on my STP service. So I was chair of that for 2 years.
Oh, chair of it. Oh, not just a member, but chair. Huh.
Yeah. That may have been because nobody else volunteered.
Really?
But I fell forward, and I was the chair, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think it's not because anyone else volunteered.
Yeah. I mean, there are some patterns in my life where one might also say that, you do tend to chair a lot of things. Why do you take these
leadership roles?
Yeah, I know.
I wonder what the social psychologist and analytics would say about that.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
You don't want to apply those? You don't look at that data yet?
Yeah, I don't know how someone can be ambitious and yet have such strong imposter syndrome. I think.
Well, I will share with you that imposter syndrome is a very common thread. If someone were to do a qualitative analysis of these interviews, the 150 some, it comes up almost every episode.
Yeah.
With no matter who I speak to, no matter where they are in their career, they could be a graduate student or 30 years in. There's still some level of imposter syndrome about something. I mean, Garth and I started the Psych Sessions podcast 5 years ago. I was completely an imposter about podcasting, even though I was 20-some years into a career.
Yeah.
We're all imposters about something.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah. But clearly, let's do this. Clearly, in teaching your social psych class, you don't walk in as an imposter.
No.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I think, it's about having confidence in your competence. And
Well said.
That's a learned skill.
And clearly, you shouldn't have imposter syndrome in serving as STP secretary, as you've done for how many years?
This is my 5th year. I have one more year. Yeah.
One more year. Is that the term is 3 years? And
3 years, and you can be reelected. Yeah.
STP secretary, a thankless job. I can only say that because I served as STP secretary once upon a time.
I followed in some big shoes.
Then I served as STP president. Oh, what a good idea. Dear Steph, former STP secretaries serve as presidents. I hope maybe you'll consider that someday.
Thank you. Thank you for
Wow, you're going to sidestep that whole thing, aren't you? So you were a member of, and now was it formerly in the early career psychologist, or was that a precursor to the ECP as we know it today?
No, it was. It was the first iteration. And then we, had sort of a rotating schedule in which we would then elect. It was, it's 5 members from across hopefully well balanced across the regions. Okay. And it was a great way to just start feeling connected in a way. I think as a graduate student, you're absorbing when you come to conferences and spaces like this, and then you get a different taste of what it might be to actually lead some programming, maybe design some resources, share out in a way that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to do as a graduate student. So I did that for a couple years. I also was nominated and I won the Jane Hallinan Early Teaching Award.
So thank you for bringing that up, because I don't think I would have known to. No, it's not. It's not. One of the things was Jane at the convention where you were presented the award?
She wasn't.
Because she likes to go up with the award winner.
Yeah, but she didn't today.
She did not. She
no,
didn't?
And I think that later we need to arrange a picture. If we haven't done that already.
She normally, I've seen her in the past go up and pose.
Oh, I have too. Yeah, which I love. I just think that's a very special connection. But yeah, I was fortunate. So again, I've been very fortunate, and the particular year that I won, it was when we did the award at the APA convention, and it was in Hawaii. So I got to go to Hawaii and receive an award.
Yeah, that was 2013.
And I just had a baby, and I didn't think that I could possibly leave a newborn and go. And my family was like, no, I think you're going to go to Hawaii, and I think you're going to accept this award.
Good.
And I did, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
But I know what you mean by fortunate, but have you served on that awards committee?
Yeah.
So you understand that. By fortunate, you mean thankful, right? You don't mean fortunate, lucky. You were lucky to win the award, because you understand by serving on the committee that awards it that they don't flip a coin. Mm-hmm. Oh, the person who got it this year, lucky,
I think I mean fortunate as in timing. I think that there was fortunate timing, but I think that it was hard earned.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
But I do believe that timing has a lot to do when things happen or don't happen, or are not awarded or are not achieved in your life.
I have the privilege of having a lot of conversations with faculty members, and I think there's oftentimes a reluctance, and maybe it's a Midwestern reluctance, quite frankly, of not wanting to take a bow or not wanting to appear braggadocious, which I get that. I understand that. But sometimes that reluctance, I think, can be harmful. I think people they preclude themselves from opportunities if they don't tell their own story or talk about their own accomplishments. I think underreporting one's accomplishments and saying I was just lucky or it was all just good timing or, the joke of, well, I won that award that year because nobody else applied or, that kind of thing where you downplay it, kind of minimizes the accomplishment sometimes. And I hope you're not doing that because you earned everything and you did all the work and you won the award compared against all other applicants that year.
Yeah. I do struggle with that piece of,
I think we all do,
not being, not presenting yourself in the way that is true and authentic and second guessing, is this with humility? But I think more than anything, I'm just grateful that I've had opportunities to show my strengths.
And you maximized them, and you came through with flying colors.
Yeah.
And what you've done is amazing, and it will continue to be amazing.
Yeah, I hope so. Yes. So Secretary has been.
Yes.
I was nominated and served now almost 2 terms, and I think Secretary, as you know, is one of the best positions to have because...
Yes, it is.
Because you're not in actually the really stressful decisions and the behind the scenes. There are fires that happen, and the secretary just gets to sort of privately document things, and sometimes things are off the record, and it's, that's fine too, but it's a great behind the scenes, pulling back the curtain and learning actually some of the amazing things that our colleagues are doing. We really are standing on the shoulder of giants. We are so rich, right? We are so rich with really creative teachers. And I edit the newsletter with Tom Pusateri, our executive director, who is literally a saint and keeps this whole show on. And every single time I'm saving websites, resources, clicking this link, sending it to my colleagues, disseminating, because there's just so much wealth. There's just so much wealth.
I completely agree with you. When I served as secretary, I got to be in the room. I got to be in the room with all these colleagues who eventually all became my friends. And it was like, I got to watch leadership in action. And most of the time, believe it or not, kept my mouth shut. And because I was typing all the time.
Yes.
I was typing and trying to, keep track of, all right, who motioned, who seconded it.
Yes.
All right. I wasn't taking literal translation or transcription of discussion, but trying to say, what was the gist of it. And so I was super busy during meetings. I really couldn't goof around. I would have, Eric Landrum would have normally goofed around. I was actually more serious than normal.
Yeah.
And it was... But you're right. I wasn't the one sending out notices like the VPs do about honors and awards or a new grant opportunity or membership or anything like that. I didn't have to worry about that. They literally, like you said, they were on the front lines. But it was a great way to learn about all the ins and outs because I was the record keeper.
Yep.
And I think it's a great way to break into the EC. I've said this before, probably not on a podcast, but I'll say it again. And it's okay for you to disagree with this. I think of the 10 positions on the executive committee, it's the easiest. Treasurer is just too much pressure. I wouldn't want to do that. There's the presidential trio that is maybe president-elect might be pretty easy. And then I think the VPs do a lot of work, and the secretary does a lot of work, but I think it's lower pressure.
And it's seasonal, so when we are meeting, those times are pretty intense.
Yes, that's right.
But for the VPs, that workload continues. And so I think the time management piece is easier, absolutely, for the secretary. So we absolutely want to encourage anybody who wants to apply for those positions. And again, I'm here because people supported me and encouraged me to apply and are encouraging me to seek and maybe even a higher position. And I think that again, I would love to try. And if given the opportunity, find ways to give back from all of the wealth that I've received from this organization.
And I think that's how we continue to grow and to thrive, is that people kind of worked their way up the ranks just like you did. You volunteered for a committee. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I got involved in a task force. Mm-hmm. Was my first, 84 years ago, there were task forces, and that's what I did. And I think
there are still task forces. Don't you worry about that.
Exactly. And, the cool thing about STP is that, on the homepage at teachpsych.org, there's a Getting Involved link, and it's up 24/7 all year round. There are pockets of the year where there are more things available than others.
Yeah.
But anyone can go to that and self-select on there. I want to get involved. And if there's something open, you put your name in, your email, and you have a chance at getting involved. Now, sometimes a committee only has so many slots, and you have to kind of monitor that. But you can be selected for something.
Yep.
So.
And there are lots of people locally that can answer questions about that position, so that if you are feeling intimidated, I would just encourage anybody to reach out and ask a question, and I can almost guarantee you will receive a very supportive and affirmative answer.
I think we're always looking for new people to step in with new, fresh ideas, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
When I go to teachpsych.org and I click on leadership, and I scroll through, one of the fun things that I see, the more I scroll, the more names I don't recognize, and the more faces I've never seen or barely seen. And that doesn't disturb me, that pleases me. Because one of the things that I always heard is that STP, or even Psych-I for that matter, is that we were cliquish. The same people were always doing the same stuff. And maybe that's a criticism, I don't know. But if you scroll through the leadership page and you see all the positions that are available and all the people volunteering, giving of their time and talent, there's a lot of different people contributing a lot of different time and talents to STP.
Yeah. I'm glad that that's noted, because that is explicitly a goal of ours.
Right.
So.
And it should be.
Yeah.
So, Steph, I want to switch gears a little bit with you. Growing up, this is probably my favorite question to ask on the podcast. Growing up, was the question in your house, are you going to college, or which college are you going to?
It was, which college are you going to?
Okay.
Yeah. So I am... I was raised in a family that everyone went to college, and in fact, everyone went to graduate school. My dad has a DVM, a doctorate of veterinary medicine. My mom has a master's degree. Both my paternal grandparents have master's degrees. So no one was in an academic setting. My mom was a teacher, and so I certainly think that I followed in that line. But I think it was where and not if. And I will say that is a struggle that I have right now with my own kids, because I have two kiddos, and it's also where, not if. And I need to widen my perspective that there are other routes, just like my route has not been a straight path. There are other routes that you can be successful in that don't require an undergraduate or a graduate degree.
Right. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, but he is deceased.
Oh, okay.
He passed away recently from addiction, and so it was not an easy. It was not easy, and he didn't excel academically, and I think that was one reason. I'm older, and I was academically successful. I wasn't an athlete. I liked to study. I liked to stay up late and study at Denny's. Like that was going out. Okay. But I only had one. And
I'm very sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, how old are the kids? I've seen them on Facebook.
Yes.
I will admit. Yes.
My kids are now 9 and 12. I have a 12-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter.
So you've got a little bit of time.
Oh, I do, but I'm sprinkling in so my son, our university just went D1, which is a big deal. And for someone who's not athletic, which I am not athletic, I'm a really good cheerleader. I know nothing about the game, but I'm really good at shouting things from the sidelines, particularly at soccer games. And my son is starting to get into the D1 football. And so not to play, but to watch. And I think any opportunity I can bring them on campus and introduce them to the academic life. They also know that I get my summers off. That's one of the best gifts to parenting.
Absolutely.
I have protected my 9-month contract as much as I can because I've been offered other positions that would have been 12 months at more of an administrative level. And right now, while my kids are young, I'm protecting my summers. And even if it means I just drive them around all summer, that's what I'm going to do.
That's great.
And they know that. They recognize that because of my job, I am able to provide them the life that we have in the summer.
I think my kids have some of their fondest memories of me just taking them to the pool and letting them swim. And I was around all summer long.
Yeah. It's lovely.
That benefit of that 9-month contract. Do either of your kids play video games?
They don't.
Oh, I was going to say, if they play the NCAA football, they can select the Boise State Blue Field.
Is that right?
In the NCAA football. So, if they're a football fan, they can get a dose of the blue.
That was a nice plug.
Well, I was going to say, if they're really football fans, come out to Boise State. They could have,
we would love to come to a big game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We lost our NFL team, so we would love to come to a big game.
Still a little bit bitter about that?
Oh, we when students come in with Rams gear, I tell them they have to take off their sweatshirts and their hats. We do not root for the Rams in St. Louis. You can root for really anyone else.
Well, you don't want to root for the
not
LA
the Patriots,
Rams.
Not the Patriots, but no, it's fun. It's fun to relate to students in a casual way.
Well, my sister lives in St. Louis.
Oh, she does?
She does, and my brother lives in Lake of the Ozarks.
Okay, yeah.
And she has probably been a lifelong Cardinals fan. And I'm a Cubs fan, having grown up north of Chicago. So we have that, natural kind of little push-pull, but it's polite now. She's older, so, I try to be respectful.
Someone recently gave me I was talking about interracial marriage and just sort of intermarriage, and someone said, well, I'm a Cards fan and my husband's a Cubs fan, so are we? And I said, I don't think that's what they meant, but
interracial marriage.
Yeah.
Have you seen the jerseys where they've split the jersey?
Yes.
At the stadium where they've split the hat.
Yeah, or the face paint on one side.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. Interracial. That's more like interclub.
Or just intermarriage. Some categorical.
That's even better.
Yeah.
That phrase is even better. Yeah. Because racial, it's not really like National League, American League, that could be. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
North side, south side Chicago, you could do White Sox and Cubs. Mm-hmm. That's technically interleague marriage, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a sports fan in St. Louis?
We are soccer people, or football in the rest of the world. So
football.
Yes. So we are actually getting a minor league team in St. Louis, and we're looking forward to watching those. But I am here for anything that brings positive light to St. Louis, my city. So we do root for the Cardinals, and I don't really understand hockey, but we root for the Blues as well. And any public display of St. Louis pride, I'm there.
St. Louis is a really fun town. Again, my sisters lived there for a long time, and whenever I get a chance to visit, we just have a good time. It's a lovely town. The Midwest, but I grew up again north of Chicago, but relatives lived in Southern Illinois, and brother lives in Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, it's a lovely place. Great people, seriously.
Yeah, it's a great place to raise a family.
Yeah, I think it really is. What else? Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? What have I slipped up on? So I went to the website. Oh, I saw what you're teaching next semester. That's interesting too. But what else did you want to talk about?
Well, so another opportunity that I fell forward on was the TED Talk.
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that.
So that was another opportunity that my university had hosted a TEDx talk, and I attended it. And that was great to see these talks in a different venue, right? It has to be less than 18 minutes. It's very scripted, but in such a professional and engaging way. And so then a call came out, and I had done some public speaking talking about racial identity and white privilege, and was gaining a little confidence. And I felt like, again, this is an opportunity that just seems like the right time, and it was in the right space. And so I fell forward and I applied and was accepted. And so I gave a TED Talk. And if you would have asked me if that's something that I would have done, 15 years ago, I never would have dreamt that.
And I will go find it, and I will put it in the show notes when this goes live.
Yeah. It was honestly one of the greatest experiences that I have had in my professional life, professional and personal. I think TED Talks are special because they weave in the personal stories, which mine does. But I think I always encourage people, if you get the opportunity to talk about something that you love, take it. I was so nervous. I was sweating through my clothes. I, did not enjoy it in those 18 minutes, but God, I'm glad that I did it.
But also you worked with a coach, right? Speaking coach.
There was a organizer who had done a TEDx talk before, and she's actually one of my very good friends. And so she was coaching us, and we practiced in the timing and the positions to stand, and the sort of the choreographing of it was coached. Yes.
So kudos to you for doing that, to putting yourself out there and doing that. Because I admire and respect you for that, because there was a TEDx Boise event. And so I went and watched, like you did one year, and was so impressed by them. And they came out and they were published. And I thought, there's a couple of things I'd really like to do and to give that talk. So I applied for it, filled out the online application, and they said, okay, prepare a 3-minute pitch. And so I prepared a 3-minute pitch, and I went in, and it was in almost like a room like we're in right now, a little boardroom, and there was 8 people around, and I walked into a front of the room and gave a 3-minute pitch and was not selected to give my TEDx Boise talk. And so I really admire the people who get to do that, because you had to be really good to get screened through. So I didn't get to, but you did. How cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It was lovely. And there was some coaching and practice, and I think it was also a really cool experience because I was with women. They were all female speakers who were speaking on, it wasn't all diversity related, but there was certainly a common theme of sort of DEI issues. And they came from around the country, and they came together in this particular spot to give these different talks.
That's
and so
better.
It just, you feel a different level of professional attachment to someone that you have given a TED Talk with. And so I use those TED Talks in my classes.
Of course you do.
And I can say, And I guess another, it's a humble brag, and I do feel uncomfortable doing it, but I say, this is my TED Talk, and this is someone that I gave a TED Talk with. And the students think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they should. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Steph, it's because it is pretty cool.
Yeah. 2019 was a great year, and then 2020 happened, and we had to take a break.
Yeah. But that doesn't diminish the greatness of 2019.
It was a great year.
And it doesn't diminish what you've accomplished and what you have yet to accomplish.
Yeah, I really feel a different level of energy this fall. I think we are back on track. I think I have more research students than I've ever had before. We're very busy, very productive. The students are in class and engaged, and it feels like we're back home. And being at this conference feels like we're back home.
Yeah. Just to be fair to the listeners, this is the longest we've ever spoken. I mean, I've known you for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I think we've said hi to each other in passing, but we've never really had long conversations.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen you with this much energy. Maybe because you just didn't know me, or like, I'm not going to talk to that weird looking guy who's bald and odd, which I totally respect that. But
that's not what I'm saying, for the record.
Oh, okay. Well, I could take that part out, but no, there is an energy emanating from you. Let's just be clear about that. A positive energy emanating at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually in the background, but when given a platform, maybe that energy shows up.
Yeah, and if I have 2 cents here, I would say come out from the background, please. We need that energy front and center.
Yeah, I'll fall forward.
Now. I would say stop falling. Don't wait to fall. We need it more purposeful and not with felled action. Is that a word? I don't know. You do you.
Thank you.
However you're comfortable.
Thank you.
Anything else that you wanted to? Thank you for bringing up the TED Talk, because I knew about that, but I had forgotten to mention that. Anything else on your mind or something you want to mention or?
I mean, I think I mentioned, that my graduate advisor was truly pivotal to my desire to pursue this social psychology, but teaching. But I didn't mention my undergraduate advisor.
Okay.
So I went to Drury University, which is a very small school in Springfield, Missouri. It's about 1,500 undergraduates, so it's really small. And I had an undergraduate advisor, Vicki Luttrell, who is still there, and was so fun. Such a wonderful, as we think about energy, she had wonderful, positive energy. And I remember sitting with her at an advising appointment and sort of thinking about, okay, what comes next? And she said, Stephanie, this is the best job. And I don't think I knew at 18 what declaring a psychology and sociology major meant. I definitely didn't know that it meant you had to go to graduate school and defend a dissertation. I was not in that lane at that time. But I think having wonderful undergraduate and graduate mentors is exactly what got me here today.
And that reminds me, you live in a very, to me, an unusual department. You just mentioned psychology and sociology, which prompted that for me.
Yeah, so we are in psychology, sociology, and public health, which is actually an awesome combination. I'm actually collaborating with on a research project with one of my public health colleagues right now with a student on sexual health. And we have we have about 250 maybe faculty total. And so, we're not huge, but we have enough interdisciplinary cross-pollination academic programming that we know each other, and we can sometimes, do research together or cross-list classes, courses, even student activities, clubs and student organizations. And it really has been another way to build such a supportive environment. I think one of the reasons that I I did pivot so well is because I found such a supportive department, right? If it really is about the people. It's not about the place, and it's not about, in my opinion, the prestige of tenure. It's about feeling like you have a support system, and I absolutely have that in my current institution. And we're very loyal, and we're very supportive, and they will love listening to this podcast because they're just beautiful people who love the students as much as I do, and really create space for people to excel in different areas. They're very supportive of different. We all do different things, and they can give us space to do those different things. So.
I just want to end on that sentiment. I don't want to add anything or detract from it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
Yeah, thank you.